well, no more landscaper, I guess. All right, you're getting in my head. You get.
Do you want me to start?
No, I got it.
Okay.
I got it. So I am Taylor Parsons, and this is Allie Parsons, my wife. And we have been Redeemer maybe going on 5 years, I think. Maybe you a little less than me. Mm-hmm. And we are currently living in the Hobson house.
So the Hobson house is a house that's owned by Redeemer. It is a place that they put in either singles or couples for the last 2 years, or 2 rounds. It's been 2 couples that they have put into this house to be an intentional neighbors in the community of Avondale. So Redeemer kind of understood that a lot of the members of Redeemer do not actually live in the neighborhood that they're trying to reach out to. And so by us living in the community, we get to know the needs of the community pretty well. We get to be good neighbors and just give them kind of access into what Redeemer is, and serve them in ways that we might not be able to if we didn't live next to them. So we've been there for now a solid year. 4th of July was our 1-year mark. We celebrated with fireworks. And we'll be in there for 1 more year. So it's been a wild ride, and we're really excited about this next year. I have no idea what's in store for us, but God is doing really, really cool things in Avondale. Taylor and I, we've been married almost 2 years. We actually met at where I work now at the Christian Service Mission when I was an intern there in college as a nutrition major. And now I work there full time as their garden director and kind of do urban food ministry. And you do what?
So I'm a landscaper. I own a landscaping business with a partner. And surprisingly, recently, business has really picked up. I guess everybody being at home for quarantine, maybe noticed they need their grass cut, or they need some replacement sod or shrubs or whatnot. But yeah, so
we both work with plants all day.
Yeah,
and then we actually are deacons of the Redeemer Garden as well, which is what we started before we were married together. We just started playing in the garden with the existing kind of community members that worked there. Just fell in love with it and just really saw this need.
It has just been a blessing, especially during COVID, because people aren't gathering inside. They're trying to social distance. So what better place than a garden,
Mm-hmm.
To come out, be active, get some sunlight and fresh air, come spend some time with your neighbors and your church brothers and sisters, and have good conversation and get your hands dirty and produce some cool stuff people get to use. It's been awesome.
Yeah. And with that too, with COVID going on, so when we first moved into the Hobson house, we had already been doing a lot of, I wouldn't say even ministry. We just had befriended a lot of homeless people, especially homeless men. For whatever reason, God just called us into a lot of relationships like that. And then with COVID, that actually really changed. So because Avondale is just this entertainment district that provides a lot of income for homeless people, all of a sudden it was shut down, and we saw all of our friends kind of leave. So it was really weird. And it wasn't instant. It took a few weeks for them to realize like things are drying up down here, and we provided them with Redeemer's help a lot of resources, like even like clothing and food. But that's just not sustainable, and a lot of these people couldn't get into shelters all of a sudden because they were closed down, and so a lot of them just kind of disappeared, and these people don't have phones. We can't contact them, so we're just carrying them in prayer right now.
Yeah.
However, that led to a really neat opportunity to pursue our neighbors with more intensity. Most of our neighbors, honestly, were either furloughed or put
a lot of restaurant workers,
for sure.
a lot of
a lot of restaurants and
bartenders and people kind of entertainment.
Yeah. So they were kind of without anything to do. A lot of single adults too live down here.
there are people that we see in the garden that are starting to ask questions
That's
about Christianity. People who were opposed to it, people who had rough upbringings and kind of feel burned by the church. But through building a relationship in the garden and constant checking in and dinners, they're starting to open up and talk about different things. And this has happened with multiple people. I'm starting to ask questions. What is my relationship to God? Who are we as humans? And who is God?
And if God is good, why does something
Yeah,
like this
exactly.
happen?
And is there one God? And is there, people starting to ask these questions that when we first met them, they never would have asked.
And that is truly like, we just see so much answered prayer right now of just, it's taken us a whole year, I think, to even get our foot in the door with a lot of these people, because
We're
a lot
starting
of
to
them,
see some fruit.
yeah,
Good fruit.
a lot of them are just really skeptical of us because we are blatantly churchgoers, and we're different than them. And so it's been so sweet to see God open those relationships to be deeper, and to have those questions asked of us and feel like we're trusted, and that they're actually friends enough of us to ask the hard things.
Yeah.
So it's been cool.
But honestly, we've seen probably more good than bad come from COVID. We've had more opportunities to talk to people about real life, as people were scared about, their family falling ill, parents, grandparents, as people are worried about, losing their jobs and maybe have lost their jobs. People tend to open up and, want to talk about the hard stuff, which kind of leads down the road of, hey, what does all this even mean? And that's where we can kind of say, hey, it's all about Jesus, which is awesome because, when other times do you get to talk to people about stuff that they're actually really walking through.
So I really think before COVID, we were kind of running ourselves really thin with just trying to do it all, and having people over, 3 or 4 times a week, or and then also doing all of our scheduled things like home group and, dinners with family, and church felt like a work day almost to us. Carpooling people, and then having home group at our house. We were in 2 home groups. So we felt a little bit just dry spiritually. And that's not where you want to be when you're doing ministry. That just is not going to produce fruit, because we have realized so deeply how truly powerless and weak we are without the Lord guiding us and using us in the way that He wants us to be used. So I think COVID actually for us gave us this breath to rethink a lot of things, and to step back and prioritize what was truly of the Lord and what was just busy. And what we were doing out of like even just obligation or guilt, instead of like pursuing the relationships that He had clearly set before us to pursue. So I think that really strengthened my faith and gave me time and time together just to really dig into the Word and to know Him better, so that we can share more about Him. If we don't know Him, how are we going to do that? So
yeah,
that was for me.
I would say for me, I tend to be a pretty practical guy, and I live my life sometimes in a way I can, prepare too much for the future. But I would say the Lord has really strengthened my faith in Him, honestly, and not in myself, and not in leaders or politicians or officials that say this or that, but that ultimately the Lord is in control. That at the end of the day, He is sovereign and His will is going to be done. And it's just about us hopping on that and trusting in Him and trusting in His provisions and trusting in His guidance in our lives. And maybe just shutting off the TV for a while and saying no to fear. Just really building faith in God and that He's sovereign and that He's got us. Whether we get sick or not, whether we lose our job or not, the Lord is good and He is sovereign. Should I look at you or should I look at... Not the camera, anything but the camera.
Anywhere but the camera.
I got you.
Yeah.
So my name is Taylor Parsons.
My name's Allie Parsons. I looked at the camera. I totally
you were
did.
looking at me the whole
I
time.
looked there and then I went, yeah.
Oh. Do it over.
Come on, girl.